You don't have to be certified to be an amazing coach. My stance, though, is for most of us, it's probably worth it. Welcome to Season 5 of the Coach Pony podcast, and we are here to help you get paid to coach. And sometimes, to move forward, you just need your questions answered. In this Bridgerton-themed season of the podcast, join me and date coach Bobbi Palmer as we answer your burning questions about your coaching business so you get more clients. After building 6- and 7-figure businesses of our own, we've learned a few things. So with that, let's get down to business.
Dear Coach Pony, I want to become a life coach, but the process is really confusing. There are so many schools to choose from, but I also know coaches who didn't go to school or get certified. Do I need to be certified to be a life coach?
Welcome to the Coach Pony podcast, and I love this question, and I, of course, have a lot to say, but I'd love to turn it over to Bobbi Palmer. Bobbi, what is your hot take on this question? Do you need to be certified?
No. My hot take is, depending on your current, existing skill set and your level of self-confidence and some other things we'll talk about, you don't necessarily have to be certified. And I have been a really successful coach for about, 14 years. And I myself was never certified.
On the other hand, I am a certified coach. I went to IPEC, the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching, and I'm super psyched for the rest of this conversation because we have very different perspectives as coaches, and we came about in very different ways, but we've both been very successful. Bobbi's built one really successful dating business. I've built 2, a career coaching and a business coaching, 2 different businesses. And so I'm excited to have a little bit of a free-form conversation today. And I want to unpack something important that Bobbi just said, but I want to pause for a second for anyone who's feeling really overwhelmed or just frustrated by trying to figure out how to become certified as a life coach. I want to share a few things. So let's just take a second for a little bit of background information. Life coaching is not a licensed profession. You do not need approval from your local state or government in order to become a life coach. In fact, anyone can hang out their shingle and call themselves a coach. However, coaching is a credentialed profession. What I mean by that is 20 to 30 years ago, a bunch of coaches got together and decided that they wanted some regulations in the profession. So they formed a governing body that governs themselves. And it's called the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. So you can find them at icf.com. And they, as the governing body, help with training and accreditation of schools who turn out life coaches. So if you want to become a life coach that's accredited, which is a CPC, Certified Professional Coach, you need to go to a school and get your credentials. And ideally, you'll want to go to a school accredited by the ICF. Coaching programs take anywhere from a few months to almost a year to complete and often have both online and in-person elements. You need to get a certain amount of training hours, as well as about 100 hours of coaching practice. You need to pass a written and oral exam, and then you can get your CPC, your Certified Professional Coach. Once you do that, there's other levels of coaching based on the number of hours you have, but it gets a little bit confusing. So for the purposes of this explanation, hopefully that'll level set you enough. So to become a coach, go to accredited school, usually ideally accredited by the ICF, not somewhere like Udemy. It will take you some time, and you do need to pass a written and oral exam, as well as do a certain amount of paperwork, training, and coaching. And the reason that coaching schools exist is because the skill of coaching is actually a unique skill. It is not consulting. It's not giving advice, which is consulting. It's not therapy, and it's not social work. So when you go to a coaching school, you'll actually learn a completely new and different skill set. And that's it for our fun background deep dive. Let's go back to the conversation. Bobbi said something really interesting earlier, which is depending on your skill set, you may not need to get certified. Bobbi, tell us more.
Take it away. Yes. So, for instance, again, I do not have a formal certification. My background, however, my professional background, sort of in my previous life, maybe 30 years, has been in adult education. And so I spent decades teaching adults how to reach their business goals, their personal goals, their financial goals, and so on. So, my perspective when I decided to be a coach and started coaching was that as a dating coach, and I specialize with working with women over 40, I found that so many of my clients, they really wanted me to teach them how to do things. So it was very much about learning skills for them. And yes, there's definitely a lot of mindset work involved as well, but a lot of it was actual skills training. So for me, my background as a teaching professional in the adult arena was perfect foundation for me to do my coaching. And I also had consulting background. So for many years, I was an independent consultant. So those two things together really prepared me, I think, well to be a really good coach. And I do want to say that certainly more training, is better and so forth. But with my lifestyle and the way I wanted to run my business, I felt like I had a really good foundation in it, and it served me.
Yeah, you said something when we were talking about this topic that I wanted to highlight, which is that not all successful coaches are the best coaches. They're actually sometimes the best marketers.
Right.
Sometimes we look at super successful coaches and think, wow, they got their PhD in coaching. But the truth is, maybe they're just excellent at Instagram or really, really, really good at how they communicate. And so it's something also to keep in mind.
I want to say too, and you talk about this a lot, and you help people a lot with marketing. It is a truth. You could be the best coach on the planet. You could help all of your clients in a really deep and meaningful way. But if you don't have marketing expertise, or I guess like a really good pipeline to begin with, somehow an organic way, which I don't know how that works, but could, I guess. It's hard to be a successful coach. Even if you are the best at coaching, you've got to be good at those business skills.
And that's a good tip to something I want everyone to think about. And I'll talk about my certification journey in a second. But there's actually, when you become a coach, you need to be an expert in three areas. And this is what a lot of coaches miss. And I should actually talk more about this. I feel like I shout it periodically, but I probably should shout it more. You need to be really great at the skill of coaching. And you need to spend some time learning what that means. There's some basic coaching skills like open-ended questions, reframing, acknowledgement and validation. These are just very basic, as well as a bunch of other stuff. But just sort of understanding the industry that you're in. Then you need to also be great in your niche. So Bobbi and I started out in different niches, and we're both actually still in those niches today in some ways. Bobbi's a dating coach. I started as a career coach and still have that business. And so Bobbi needed to be up on what was happening in the dating world. So she needed to be an expert on, as new dating apps came online, what those apps were like, how they worked, things like that. She coaches women, so she wanted to really dig into feminine communication versus masculine communication, how you show up, how you present, things like that. So she needed to develop an expertise that way. For me, I needed to be up on like what's going on with resumes and hiring at this particular time in space in the world. What's happening with LinkedIn in terms of a job search tool and networking tool. Like I had to be up on the skills related to my niche. Bobbi and I both did. So that's, another level of expertise. And the third one is business skills. Fortunately, more and more companies are hiring coaches, which is great. But the vast majority of coaches are not going to work full time for another company as a coach. It's just not where the industry is at. You're going to be working for yourself, most likely. So you need to develop the skill of being an entrepreneur. And a lot of coaches miss this. They think that if they just share their story, clients are going to come, and that's not the case. So the three areas of expertise are your coaching skills, your niche skills, and your business skills. Bobbi, what did you want to add?
Share your story. That's exactly. I'm like raising my hand, and Christy's like, I'm not done yet. Share your story. So that was another thing for me. I got married for the first time at age 47. And so my niche was helping women over 40 find love, right? Find grown-up love. So for me, in addition to my business skills and my business background, and by the way, those skills, Christy, that you mentioned, those basic coaching skills were skills that I used in consulting and business. So I did have, that training.
Well, and also you invested in
Oh, yeah.
your learning at that time. Like Bobbi, just
Yes.
because she wasn't certified, that doesn't mean she wasn't out there learning. She was on the area of coaching and facilitation,
Sure.
all that other stuff that's related.
Sure.
So I just want to throw that out. You specifically set aside time and energy into courses when you went down this road.
But a really big part too of my my qualifications is that I lived it, right? Got married at 47. So I dated, for 30 years. To be honest, that gave me some qualifications that a lot of other dating coaches don't have. And I also was in a really good marriage. We're into our 17th year. So that matters too. It's just your personal experience. If you're actually have accomplished what you're helping other people accomplish, that's a big point on your resume.
So it's going to surprise some people when I say this, but I actually agree with Bobbi. You don't have to be certified to be an amazing coach. My stance, though, is for most of us, it's probably worth it to go down the certification route for a couple of reasons. One is that it does the profession, makes us all look better if we all have some baseline training in common, and it is going to make you a better coach. The journey of getting certified is one of deep personal reflection and growth just of yourself, much less learning the coaching skills. So it's going to be good for you no matter what, but it's going to be good for all of us. The more coaches, I think, who get certified from an accredited program. If you're on Udemy and you're getting certified in an hour and a half, that's not a real certification. Don't do that. The second reason I think it's really good to get certified, it's just a vote of confidence in yourself. I think a lot of us as coaches, we want to make sure we help and we do the right thing, and we'll just feel more confident if we come out of it, with a baseline skill set to offer people, not just people telling you, oh, you're a great coach, you give great advice, because giving advice isn't coaching, that's consulting. So it's important, I think, for a lot of us, not everyone, to invest that just so you feel better about what it is that you have to offer to set your business up for success. Yeah. So I know some great coaches. Bobbi is a phenomenal coach, by the way, who's not certified. She isn't, but she's done all the work.
So
that she
smart,
needs to,
though.
She's really humble. What I like about Bobbi is she's so humble. It's amazing. But I think, again, most of us would benefit from going through that process. However, from the client side, I want to say something, which is that a lot of clients never know any of this information. So most clients have never heard of a CPC, that they don't even know what that is. If you're coaching, especially individuals and not companies, so they don't even care. They don't even know. I've been asked one time by one client in my entire 10 plus year career what my certification was.
Stop it.
No one else even knew, cared, or understood. They just loved what I had to say. They followed me. They interacted. They talked with me. They saw me give a speech. They read something I wrote, and they wanted to work with me. However, the one caveat to this for certification is if you do want to do corporate or executive coaching, a lot of companies do require you to be certified and to have a certain amount of hours before you can kind of get on their vendor list. So if you're going down that road, especially, then do seriously consider getting certified, because it will help you out in the long run. And definitely talk to some corporate and executive coaches about it. But for those of us in the other spaces, if you're doing it almost more for yourself and for the profession than for your clients in some ways, in terms of credibility, because the clients, that's not what that matters most to them at all. Bobbi, what did you want to add?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. In other words, I do agree that getting a certification is a really positive thing to do for a lot of reasons. And I'll talk about this a little more in tea time, but it definitely did affect my confidence as I began building, trying to build my business, in that I was like, oh, what are my credentials? I can't put on my website that I have these certifications. And it really did sort of hold me back in a lot of ways. For me, what my clients are attracted to, just like you, Christy, personality, what I have to say, what I teach, what I share, but a lot of them, it's my story, right? For me personally, it was my story, because there's so much shame there can be real shame. There could be real embarrassment. There can be all kinds of stories about, oh, I'm 53 years old and I'm not married yet, and what's wrong with me, and blah, blah. And they knew that I got it, and they knew that I respected them. Anyway, it was easier to form like real trusting personal relationships and really help these women. So a little different story.
What Bobbi said is true. Her story is really important. All of our stories are important because we often coach who we used to be. However, the coaching schools that tell you just get out there and share your story and you'll be a successful coach, that's crap. Like, that is not a business strategy at all. That's not like a good marketing approach, just if that's all you've got, right? So I do want to caveat that there's so much more to learn.
Yeah, like a big one page on my, homepage, it says, I did it. So, I can show you how. No, it's
yeah. Bobbi's not out there accosting people on the street being like, let me tell you my story. Like, no.
Yeah. Well, and for me, I've written over 200, blog posts to support the idea that I understand, that I have compassion, and that I have really, really mature, real life ideas and ways to help them. Yeah. It's a little more than that.
I have so much I could say. I have so much on this soapbox I could say about this. The story comes into play, but it's terrible coaching advice if it's the only business advice you get, for sure. Yep. And coaching schools are famously bad about sharing this as their big business tip. So let's check in with where we are. We actually both agree you do not have to be certified to be a coach. In fact, no one does technically because it's an unlicensed profession. But we also agree that you do need to really invest in learning about coaching skills, your niche skills and expertise, as well as business skills if you want to be successful, because it's not just about getting certified as a coach. It's about being able to support yourself as a coach. And so you need to know all three things. And you want to take a look at your past skills. If you're thinking about not getting certified, what do you already bring to the table and what might you want to improve? So that's sort of where we are in terms of the conversation.
Tea time, milady. It's time to spill the tea.
Bobbi, I'd love to spill some tea on this because you said you had some worries when you first started.
Yeah, I really did. I was insecure. I was feeling like, who's going to listen to me? Who's going to, really respect me because I didn't have my certification. And it's true, Chrissy, you can't just put it out there going, yeah, I did it. Like, give me $5,000. So anyway, when I was early on, I first started my business blogging. That was like the first thing I did. I went onto WordPress. I created a blog. That was it. No website, just my blog. And I probably maybe 6 months or so into starting sort of officially my business, I had one client who actually found my blog and hired me. It was shocking to me. That's another story. I read a blog. I don't remember the topic, but I was very insecure about people. Like, why would people listen to me? Because I'm not a professional. So I went on the internet and I searched the internet for another psychologist or psychiatrist, not a coach, because back then there weren't that many of us, who had a PhD behind their name, who had an article that supported my position. I found this woman named Tina Tessina. I quoted her in my blog, linked to her website like you're supposed to. And I wrote her a nice little email. And I said, hi, just want to let you know I really like your work. And, I referenced it in my blog. Here's the link. And I felt like that was really important. Like, my word wasn't enough. I needed a professional, quote unquote, because obviously I didn't feel I was, to defer to and say, well, look, see, she thinks that too. So you should listen. And so that just shows sort of my insecurity. And that really was around not being certified and not having that, those letters at the end of my name kind of thing. To append to that story, which I think is so cool. So I emailed Tina, you're great, blah, blah, blah. And I don't hear back from her. And I don't expect to, because she's like a professional. And like, who am I? I'm just Bobbi Palmer. I date like a grown-up. And 3 months later, she emails me back and she says, oh, that's so lovely. Thank you so much. We should meet sometime. Here's my phone number. Give me a call. And I thought, oh my gosh, I felt so special that somebody with that experience, a PhD psychologist, would want to talk to little old me. And it turns out we lived like 5 miles away from each other. She could have lived in Botswana. I had no idea where she was. And it's been 15 years and we're still really good friends. And I have to say that from the get-go, she showed me the same respect that I showed her. And it helped me understand, because we actually met for lunch soon after. And she was like, you're great at what you do. I've read your articles. I mean, you're the real deal. You know what you're doing. And so the certification helps, but it really does impact. If it impacts your confidence and it impacts your feeling of being like really feeling strongly about going out there and selling yourself, because that's what we do, it's worth getting that certification. I think I got lucky with Tina. But she really helped me with my confidence. And I don't know, if it wasn't for that experience, I may have held back even longer than I did from putting myself out there. TinaTessina.com, by the way, she's amazing.
My journey was so different because I was consulting, and a lot of people I worked with were getting certified as coaches because it was something we could then bid to our clients. I was doing government consulting, and I just was interested in it for that. And I wanted to become a full-time coach, I thought, but I was like, worst case, I can use it in my current job. But for me, I felt like I just needed to be certified. Like I had to have that. I just did not feel confident at all in this whole endeavor of like, I'm going to start a business. I might quit my job. I need a piece of paper that's going to help, because I am not brave enough to do this otherwise. So I talked to a bunch of coaches and where they were going, and looked into a bunch of schools. I had a whole spreadsheet document that was a mess, but it was organized in my mind. But anyway, I looked at each coaching school, what they offered, how much they cost, and what their flavor was, because every coaching school is different. And then also where the in-person training was located. This was a long time ago, so everything was in person. And I had to be able to get there and drive there. And one coaching school wanted you to take a week off of work every few months to come in. And I was like, I can't take a week off of work every couple of months for this. Like, I got to be able to do it on the weekends, maybe the occasional Friday. And then I attended, I had a short list. One of them was having a weekend coming up. So I signed up for that first weekend. And then if I could continue on if I wanted to. Walked in, really kind of like, what is this? I don't know. Walked out like, oh my God, I'm all 100%. And I signed up immediately. So, and that was IPEC, by the way. But I was also looking at CTI. I was looking at Georgetown's coaching school, IPEC, and then a couple of other lesser known schools as well. So, yeah, and it just made me feel so much better in terms of me and like what I needed. Like Bobbi and I needed different things in order to feel confident. Bobbi had a lot more experience than I did just in general when she started her coaching business. She had also been an entrepreneur before, and I was very inexperienced in all of that stuff. So it's interesting that just the different paths that we take. But I will say one more plug in general for coaching schools themselves. It's so worth it as a personal journey in your life to do that, to take that journey for yourself, regardless of what happens in your business. And if you get to start a successful business and you're like me 10 years later looking back, like that was a seminal decision. And I'm so glad that I did it.
We talked about this when we first started talking about this episode, and I think it's really helpful to get both perspectives. And remember too, the 4 or 5 years that I started before you, the field was very different.
Yeah,
it was very different. There weren't for sure 5 million of us.
Yeah. And like, even there wasn't even as much access to coaching schools either. IPEC wasn't even in my area, I think a few years before I started. So like, I wouldn't even had the same opportunities to get certified had I started when you did. Yeah. Question though, just looking back, if you could go back and get certified knowing what you know now, would you or not?
I don't know. And I'm going to be really honest and say I'm not a good student. I never have been. I mean, that was part of my decision, I'm just being real, right? Because, I don't know any other way. I mean, I'm in Spanish school right now and I'm like, oh my God, homework. Are you kidding me? So I don't know, Christy. I mean, honestly, back then, if I had a chance to do it and if it was like more of the thing to do, I don't know if for personal reasons I would have done it. And I'm saying that because there's some people out there that it's just not their thing. And I have ADD and it's hard for me to be a good student.
Yeah.
So there are just some people that it's hard to do that.
And I will say, if you have a good coaching program that has a good in-person element, the coaching should be really fun, the coaching part of it. But it is a lot of paperwork. I'm not going to lie. It is a lot of paperwork to get certified. And as someone who hates paperwork myself, it took a hot second there for me once I finished to get it all together and get it in.
But the more you talk about it now, Christy, I mean, there are no disadvantages, and there are a lot of advantages to doing it, for sure.
I want to, of course, get into some homework for everyone listening who's thinking about going down this path. But before you do, let's talk about what brings you this podcast. This podcast is brought to you by both chocolate and awesome. And the chocolate today is banana bread, chocolate chip banana bread. But you guys, I feel like I hacked the system. I took a box of cake mix and some bananas and some chocolate chips, and I put my hands together with a couple eggs. And voila, 50 minutes later, I had banana bread. I ate the whole thing in 3 days. I ate half of it immediately. And I never realized you could just use cake mix for everything. So I'm just putting that out there. And the awesome is our marketing masterclass, which we've updated. So if you're wondering how to find clients and you're like, where are clients? Tell me how to get clients. I'm like, I'm here to help. It's a free 14-minute class. Go to coachpony.com/marketing to get your seat. And we will tell you exactly how to find coaching clients in a way that will be super useful to you. So coachpony.com/marketing. Okay, Bobbi, let us assign some homework. So what's homework number 1?
Homework number 1 is to do a skills inventory. So regardless of what your decision is about whether to be certified or not, this needs to be done. And that is, what skills, what knowledge, what experience, life and business, do you already have? Do you bring to the table already? So really, in a formal way, write down what are you able to do? That's a skill. What do you already know? What's your knowledge? And what have you already done or experienced in your life? Because that gives you a really good foundation to not only realize how much you already know and how much you can do, but also where the gaps might be.
I love that. Really important. The second piece of homework is to read a book about life coaching skills specifically and life coaching in general. The book that I'm going to recommend is called Co-Active Coaching. It's by one of the oldest coaching schools, CTI, and it is considered sort of, a basic Bible for coaches. And before you even think about getting certified or going to a school or anything else, read a book and see how it lands with you. And that alone will give you some great life insight. It'll give you some great coaching skills right away. And it'll also give you some information on whether this is the right path for you. So the book we're recommending, Co-Active Coaching.
And if you are interested in certification and something that you think you want to do or should do or whatever, check ICF and sign up and attend a webinar or some evening workshop if they have any that are in person from different coaching schools. And remember, you've got the skills inventory. You know what you're lacking. You know where your gap is. And by now, hopefully you have an idea. You don't have to know for sure, but you have an idea about what your audience might look like and so forth. And anyway, check out different schools and really do your homework. Don't get drawn in. Do your homework and make a really smart decision about which one that you choose.
Love that. The final thing, of course, is if you're also going down this route, don't forget to think about your business. So remember, it's not just learning coaching, it's learning how to be an entrepreneur. Coach Pony is here to help you with that. That's exactly why we exist. We've helped tens of thousands of coaches build their businesses. And so come on over to coachpony.com. We have tons of free resources, blogs, guides, trainings, all to help you. You can find the How to Get Clients training at coachpony.com/marketing, but just don't forget about this piece of it. And that's it. Bobbi, any final thoughts?
I think my final thought is that it's a hard business to be in, honestly, but it's so rewarding, not just financially. I mean, that's great, but to look at people in the world living happier lives and better lives forever because you help them, it's a gift. It's a gift to be able to coach and to do well at it.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I can't say it any better than myself, so we will leave it there. And with that, we'll see you in the next episode. As always, thanks for listening. I appreciate you. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with another coach. And if you need more practical business help, for the love of chocolate, please go to CoachPony.com and sign up for a free guide and business training designed to help you get paying clients. We'll see you over at www.coachpony.com.